Hey, what's up everybody? So in this video, I want to talk about the proper way to dice an onion. But before we do that, we got to talk about the tools that we need to properly dice an onion. What are we going to need? We're going to need a good sharp knife. Of course, we're going to need an onion. We're going to need a good cutting board. And we're going to need a wet towel, a damp towel, not really soaking wet, but we're going to need a damp towel. Now you might be asking yourself, why do we need a damp towel to cut an onion? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. So we need a cutting board, a really good cutting board, but in order to have a cutting board that is safe so you don't cut yourself, we need a cutting board that's not going to move when you are trying to cut this onion. So what we're going to do is move the cutting board out of the way, take a damp towel and put it right there on the counter. And then we are going to take our cutting board and we're going to put it right there on that towel, just like that. Now you're going to have a cutting board. It might have a little bit of movement, but it's not going to move that much. So let me just make sure I have that. Okay, so now we have our cutting board, our knife, and our onion. Now we need a good knife. How do you know that you have a good knife with a good balance? So if you put your finger there, you should be able to see that if the knife balances on your finger without falling off one way or the other, you know you have a knife with a good balance. Now this here is a whooshed off classic, and I have had this for well over 10 years, a really good knife. You want a good knife with good balance that is really, really sharp. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why do I want a sharp knife? A sharp knife is dangerous. No, a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife is, and I'm going to explain that right now. Now, be careful with any knife that you are using. All knives will cut you if you slip off the onion or whatever you're cutting. If you slip and hit your finger, you're gonna cut yourself regardless. But with a dull knife, you have an easier chance of cutting yourself because it's gonna bounce off what you are cutting. Versus cutting, you're gonna struggle with it, and then you're gonna slip, and then you're gonna cut yourself. So you always want to make sure you have a really sharp knife. But regardless, always be careful and never try not to cut your finger. So all right, so when we cut the onion, first, how I like to do it is I like to first get rid of the ends. Get rid of the ends, and I like to always clean up my mess while I am cutting the onion. So we like to get rid of the garbage as you're doing it. Okay, so now we have this onion, and we want to cut it in half, just like that. All right, so now we have a half an onion, and we want to get rid of the skin of that half of onion, and then throw away the garbage. All right, so now a lot of people dice onions is you just rough chop. But if you want uniformed pieces, all the pieces being roughly the same size, approximately the same size, you're most likely not always going to have the exact same size of every piece, but you can come pretty close, and then you get even cooking time, and then you don't have really small pieces and really big pieces. They're all roughly all uniformed in shape. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut like this, and we are going to cut a couple of slices. Now we're not going all the way through the onion. We're going almost all the way through, but not quite all the way through. And then we're going to turn the onion like this. And then we're going to make a few slices like this. Once again, we are not going all the way through, and just like that. And then you're going to turn your onion back around. And then this is where you're going to make your dice. You're going to make your dice, and you're going to go just like this. Again, cutting away from your fingers. You don't want your fingers anywhere near your knife because you don't want to cut yourself. But see, as you can see, we are getting some very nice uniformed shaped, roughly all the same size, just like that. Now sometimes you want smaller dice. Sometimes you want a little bit of a larger dice, but as you can see, these are pretty much all the same size, really nice. And then there's not a lot of chopping involved. And then sometimes you want a bigger dice, so then you just make bigger cuts. So let's take this half of onion here. Sometimes you're making a chili or something and you want bigger cuts. So in that case, you can make just one cut like that down the middle, and then you turn it around. Again, you do a few slices like that, turn the onion back around, and then you can just make bigger dices like this. And then they don't have to be really small dice. They can be a little bit of a larger dice, but once again, they are roughly all the same shape. So depending on how big or how large you want your dices to be, you just make bigger or smaller cuts. So really cool. Let me know what everybody thinks in the comment section below. There you have your larger dice, or I'm sorry, your smaller dice, and then you have your larger dice depending on what you are cooking. Sometimes you want a larger dice or a smaller dice, but really easy to do once you have the technique down. Hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know what you think in that comment section below. Appreciate everybody for watching. Please hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I make a video, upload another video, either a technique video or a cooking video with some awesome recipes. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Talk to everybody on my next video. Thanks a lot, everyone.